Well, Governor, you, as always, are humble and reference it just for a moment. But just 4 years ago, with you having made healthcare a priority, I mean, the Affordable Care Act was under attack. With your leadership, we made certain imbued in state law were things like having protection as to lifelong caps, as to pre-existing conditions regarding keeping our young adults on our policies. And with that, you engaged in a reinsurance program that instead of a 12% increase in the individual market, it was a 6% decrease. And that set the stage for Commissioner Caridi, who, not that I'm counting, but there's now 307,000 lives as of January that are in the exchange that are all because of the efforts that you collectively made. So congratulations as it relates to that. Now, I am thrilled to be in the hometown of Senator T. Roy. And, you had to be careful before because, before he was a legend down in Trenton, he was a legend on the football fields here. And he kind of looked at me the wrong way. The Super Bowl just played. I thought he was going to take me down. But Troy, it truly is, an honor. And as much as I look really young, I know, except for I'm old. And I remember Troy going back to when he was a part of the staff 20 years ago in the state legislature and was a driving force in all the good things that were able to occur and has just continued to do so. And I'm, feel so proud to be watching your continued maturation and that legend really does continue to grow, Troy. The only thing I'm going to say is that we've had a couple great bills together, and this will be a number in addition. So it's kind of like a Batman and Robin thing. I'm older. I get to be Batman. That's all I'm saying. It'll be a pleasure to work with you. The heart-wrenching stories, and Dorothy, you were so kind in sharing what you did, but there's so many that we all know of, and Troy just spoke to neighbors and people we know. I know of a 37-year-old who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She'd say, I didn't cry when I got the diagnosis at all. I cried when I found out about the financial toxicity that went along with it. I know a 34-year-old, and we talk about insulin, that's insulin dependent, and was taking vials of the insulin and putting them in her refrigerator until there were enough that she could then take a syringe so she could make another one. That just can't happen, in a country like ours, in a state like ours. A CEO of a startup biotech company about 25 years ago now had the first drug developed that was $100,000, meaning for the year. And everyone said, how could you do that? And his answer was, because I can. And when it comes to it, we are the only country in the world that has no role in setting prices for prescriptions. I mean, that's unacceptable. Avastin, which is a cancer drug, costs 10 times more here in the United States where it was developed than it does in Great Britain. Haravani, and I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but if you have Hep C, you know of it. It costs $10,000 more in our country than it does elsewhere. So it's clear when you just put pure capitalism and this Byzantine system as to how it gets delivered to the market, it results in the highest drug prices in the world. Now, capitalism is good if you're dealing with maybe a luxury car, and who can afford it can afford it. But I think we're all who are here today agree that healthcare is a basic human right for every American and everyone in the state of New Jersey, and which is why government needs to step in, and step in we will. I really won't bore you all in this, spider web that is the way that our drugs come to market, but it's just it's set up in a way that is just destined to do, frankly, what it has. The PBMs, they put together what's known as a formulary. And that's when they kind of rank these drugs that fit into three separate tiers. Let's just say tier one is $5 copay, $10 tier two, and just co-insurance for tier three. Now, that formulary is supposed to be put together, in a way by independent clinicians and scientists, but there's discretion. The same way there might be discretion in choosing a car. That's sometimes BMW versus Lexus, whatever you want to think. Chevrolet versus Buick, I don't know. But this discretion then enables them to go back to the drug manufacturers and say, How would you like to be in tier one? Well, discount a little bit more. But then here's the problem. Like with a luxury car where there's a sticker price. Forget about supply chain recently, but nobody pays sticker price on a car, right? Well, in pharmacy, they call them, and I love this acronym, wholesale acquisition cost. That's basically a sticker price. The acronym is WAC. The only people who get whacked are the consumer. And it just makes sense. If you're from pharma, you're going to say, I'm going to set the highest whack I can because I know I'm going to have to negotiate off of it. And guess what? The managers are saying, I get paid in the percentage that I'm able to negotiate down, meaning the PBM. So I don't care if those list prices go up. And that's why we've seen prices triple over a short period of time and why they're so less expensive in other nations. So we're going to do something about that. As you know, as the governor indicated, we're going to do something about those 3 medications that affect so many of us. 700,000 people alone in our state are insulin dependent, if you can imagine, let alone the inhalers and the EpiPens. But significantly, we're going to look into the PBMs. We're going to pull back that curtain, and we're going to know there's going to be data reporting as it relates to every segment of the market. There's going to be analysis. They're going to have to be licensed, Marlene. And those discounts are no longer going to go to profits. They're going to go where they should, back to the consumer, back to us, because it's otherwise unsustainable. Governor, you again referenced, I can't imagine. I get a prescription and let me just get something over the counter that I can afford. Or I'm just not going to fill it. Or I'm going to cut my pills in half. 25% of the people on prescriptions, that's what they're up to if they're seniors. That is wrong. I'm going to leave you with just noting Dr. Fred Banting. If you know who that is, you're worse of a nerd than I am. 1923, Dr. Banting invented insulin. And he decided that it would be against his oath as a doctor to go ahead and patent it. He wanted it to be available to everyone. He actually ceded it to 2 students of his who weren't doctors yet, and they followed that ethical path and ended up selling it for $1 to the University of Toronto. They were Canadians. So let's consider the innovation of Dr. Banting. And again, there's nothing wrong with capitalism. We should celebrate pharma for all the great things that they do. But we need to, again, get things back in balance. So, Governor, with your leadership, Troy, with your partnership, and with all of you, we look forward to getting this through the legislative process. I referenced Dr. Conaway and my colleagues in the Assembly to let's get it to the finish line. God bless everybody.